Welcome in, everybody, to my Week 5 NFL Power Rankings. I kid you not, I've never had such a hard time ordering the top teams in the NFL. I think I reordered my top 6 teams about 7 or 8 times, spent about 20 minutes shuffling through it. So it'll be fun to get into that and try to break that down. I do want to offer a quick update for my schedule for the week. I'm going to be heading to Cincinnati on Thursday for my sister's wedding. Also going to be going to the Bengals-Packers game that I'm super excited about. But that is going to change my content schedule for the week. So we've got power rankings today. I'm hoping to put up some sort of version of the Fully Inflated Football podcast tomorrow. Also going to be including a Monday Night Football breakdown on that podcast tomorrow. So Raiders, Chargers fans, looking forward to the big game tonight. Make sure you come back tomorrow to see how your rankings are reflected from that game. Then Wednesday, hoping to have studs and duds up. And because it is the first NFL week of a new month, my weekly NFL picks will be public this week, coming from Patreon to YouTube this week. So lots of action ahead. Just wanted to update you there. Let's get into the rankings. Please do hit that like button down below. Really helps grow my channel. I appreciate you in advance. So let's get started. At the bottom, number 32, the Houston Texans dropping down 2 spots. You know, we said it after they won week 1. Probably not going to sustain them being any higher than number 32 for a long time, and that's really almost inarguable at this point. It's just not a competitive football team at the moment, especially with Davis Mills in there. You know, Tyrod, they were able to do some fun stuff offensively, but yeah, they're kind of back to where we thought they would be as the worst team in football. Then number 31, the Detroit Lions. Look, they're a really fun team, and I hate talking down about this team because they play physical. Dan Campbell's super fun. They got some fun players on offense. DeAndre Swift, Hawkinson, pulling for Jared Goff. But at the end of the day, they just lack the talent in the receiving core and defensively to truly hang in a lot of games. So despite them being a scrappy underdog that everyone wants to cheer for, the reality is this team's going to have a hard time winning a lot of football games this year. Then we have the Jacksonville Jaguars climbing up a spot. Look, we know the defense isn't very good. They fell apart in the second half, and that's why they ended up losing the game. But to see Trevor Lawrence look like the number 1 overall pick, really for the first time, is a huge deal for this team. Him being able to make the throws that he was making, hanging tall in the pocket, just dropping straight up dimes. His arm talent is undeniable, but also using his legs as well. Had a bunch of rushing yards in this game, moving the sticks with his feet. If the Jags are able to move the ball like that, they're going to start winning football games. And then the New York Jets as well, going to climb up 3 spots, going on the road and beating the Tennessee Titans. Yes, a banged up Titans team playing without their top 2 playmakers in the receiving game, but again, with the Jets, very similar. You get Zach Wilson to look like the number 2 overall pick, pushing the ball downfield, making plays out of structure, taking better care of the football. This defense, the reason I have the Jets above the Jags, because I think offensively they're both probably still in for a polarizing season. Defensively for the Jets, I think they're very well coached, and they have a chance to keep them in games a lot more than the Jags, so that explains the difference there. So a big win for the Jets. Was a very banged up Titans team. I actually picked the Jets to win this week. But yeah, +3 for the New York Jets. And that is going to be my bottom tier cutoff right there, the true bottom feeders. Because the Miami Dolphins are going to come in at 28, dropping down 6 spots this week. So at this point, they got to get, Tua back. They got to find out if Tua can play. They got to find out if this offense will be better when Tua comes back, because Brissett had some fun in week 3, but not a lot of fun in week 4. This offense is the worst in the NFL outside of the Houston Texans that are just kind of in a, maybe they need a tier gap below everyone else right now. But yeah, this offensive line's a mess. They're terribly coached on the offensive side of the ball. This defense is going to hang. Very physical. They take the ball away. But if they're not the 2017 Jags or 2018 Bears or whatever, those elite of the elite defenses, they're just going to be constantly on the field because this offense is so bad. So they're a mess right now. I said coming into the year there's a chance that this team could be a bottom 5 team in the NFL. Now, obviously, Tua is hurt, so I'm not going to take a victory lap quite yet. But, man, everything I said outside of the Tua situation is shaping up. The offensive coordinator deal with like 2 OCs is a mess. They have no identity. The O-line is just horrific. So it's bad for the Miami Dolphins right now. Just not all that competitive at all. Then we have the Eagles at number 27, dropping down one spot. Second week in a row, this defense, since the Brandon Graham injury, has just completely fallen off. They look good to start, but yikes, just getting steamrolled by the Chiefs, which is not respectable, but I guess expected. I don't know. That's just too much pressure to put on Jalen Hurts right now and really any quarterback. So some issues in Philadelphia right now that they're working through. Then the Atlanta Falcons at number 26. Moving up a spot because the offense is starting to get moving here. Matt Ryan playing much, much better football this week. They did end up losing, but it was a very respectable loss that just came down to like the very last second. But just good to see the offense get going. Cordarrelle Patterson looking like a monster. My goodness. Who saw that coming? Nobody. It was supposed to be Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts' offense. No, this is Cordarrelle Patterson's offense. But yeah. The Falcons are still not very good. Defense cost them the game this week, but at least good to see the offense moving. Then the New York Giants +3 with a life-saving, season-saving comeback victory against the Saints. And this did kind of feel like a spark plug victory for this team. Not just to instead of dropping to 0-4, you're now 1-3, which feels much better. But to do it in the way they did, where the offense really woke up, you get Saquon Barkley showing that explosiveness, finding ways to get him involved as a receiver because their run game is just so anemic. And then Daniel Jones deserves a lot of credit as well. He's hung in there behind a bad offensive line that did play much better this week, but getting these playmakers going, some really nice passes to get them back in this game. They win the coin toss, go down, and walk out of New Orleans with victory. And it did not seem likely. Like they were kind of down and out in the fourth quarter, and this team woke up. So we'll see if they can carry that into future weeks, or if this was a little bit more of a fluke. We'll definitely find out. Then the Washington football team at 24, one of the weirder teams in the league, because I felt very good coming into the year. This was going to be a borderline elite defense and an offense that just kind of tried to run the ball and take some deep shots because they're set up to do that. But, not have this explosive offense necessarily. And right now, they're not playing good defense, and they're leaning on Taylor Heineke, who's literally just a young Ryan Fitzpatrick who's super streaky to win them games. I want to say both their wins now, they've had to score 30-plus points to do it. So this is not the Washington football team I thought we'd see, and I don't really like this version of this team, but they have some energy and can do some fun stuff with Heineke, and Terry McLaurin was exceptional this week. So I don't know exactly what to do with Washington right now, but at 24 does feel right. What doesn't quite exactly feel right is we actually have a tier gap up to our next team here in the Pittsburgh Steelers that are just so bad right now. So I do have confidence that this defense will get back to playing an elite brand of football. I still think moving forward, this defense will still be one of the best in the league. And then it's going to take a lot of pressure off of Big Ben to have to really almost kind of carry the team in a lot of ways. And the reason I say that is TJ Watt was out the last 2 weeks. It's a huge loss. And then this week they were in Lambeau Field. And they didn't even play that bad defensively, but Aaron Rodgers got his, as what tends to happen when you go to Lambeau Field. So I think the defense gets better moving forward. But -5 this week because this offense is an absolute dumpster fire, and it's all Big Ben's fault. Like, seriously, missing throws, bad decisions. They went for it twice on 4th down, and he immediately just throws it to the flat. Well, actually, the flat once, and then he hit a quick crossing route. Both times, Green Bay just came up and made a tackle. Like, this offense is exclusively predicated on catch and run from these guys because Ben just can't command the football. So, a lot of bad going on for Pittsburgh. I think they'll correct some things. I still have confidence that they can be a better football team than 23, but right now it is difficult to see it coming anytime soon. Then we have the Chicago Bears +2. So they now have, for the second time, I believe, ripped play calling duties away from Matt Nagy, and the offense looks much better. Now, how much of that is going from playing the Browns defense that looks like one of the best in the NFL to going to play the Detroit Lions that's maybe the worst? we're going to have to see a little bit more than that. But obviously Justin Fields getting the start this week and playing really good football as well. Pushing the ball downfield. You love to see it. But we need to see more from the Chicago Bears before we get too excited about anything here. And then talk about not getting too excited about anything. Big win for the Colts for sure. Good to kind of get their first win up and under them that can maybe build off of that. This is a team that just does not have a lot of steam rolling right now. They're waiting to get Quentin Nelson back. Carson Wentz probably still not 100% in there, but they play a physical brand of football. They walked into Miami, came out with a win. I do think they're a better football team, especially with the line of scrimmage advantage that they were able to have in that game. So good to get their first win. They're going to stay put at 21, and we're going to have to continue to evaluate them. They're kind of an incomplete NA on the season so far. But definitely for Colts fans, must feel good to get a win in the win column. Then the Cincinnati Bengals, +3. I took an incredible amount of heat on Twitter because I said Joe Burrow is a top 10 quarterback. Now, I threw a list together. He's probably 11 or 12. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in the NFL right now. But that said, he is playing outstanding football right now. I don't think a lot of quarterbacks are 3-1 with this Bengals team. And a big part of that is Burrow's ability to extend plays, and his pocket presence is elite, and I don't use that word lightly. When there's structure to be had there, and they did a much better job this week against the Jags defense to provide him open receivers over the middle of the field where he was just, dropping dimes. But his ability to improvise and make plays, it is why they came back and won this game. Yes, it was the Jags defense, but they were putting pressure on Burrow, as anybody does against this offensive line, and Burrow made play after play after play. He is playing some of the best quarterback in the NFL over the last 2 weeks. Of course, he struggled against the Bears. Pass rush was just a little bit too much that week. But yeah, Joe Burrow, kind of carrying this offense right now, though they did finally start to run that Shanahan offense a little bit more, got the run game going. So they're a very feisty football team right now. They're going to have a test this week with Green Bay coming to town. It's a banged-up Green Bay team. They have a chance to win that game and start to be taken really seriously here for the Bengals. But we'll see after this week. Then we got the Panthers actually moving up a spot this week because of the Pittsburgh Steelers doing what they're doing right now. The defense did kind of come apart for the Panthers this week. A lot of just miscues, it felt like. Tackling problems, bad calls defensively. And of course, going against a very, very good Cowboys offense. It was a tough draw for them. But Darnold continues to play pretty well. I thought they still played well offensively in this game. And I'm certainly not selling the Panthers despite, a loss that they were expected to lose this week, and they lost. I will say Panthers fans wanted to be a top 12 team because they were 3-0. This is why. They're still a young team that's growing, but at the same time, they're going to go up this week because they're better than the Steelers right now, I think. Then the Patriots +1. I was impressed by the Patriots. I don't know about you guys, but they were a field goal away from beating the Bucs, and that says a lot. The defense getting Stephon Gilmore back here, hopefully in a couple of weeks, they can be one of the best defenses in the NFL. I think Mac Jones is actually playing pretty well. They just don't have any explosiveness at receiver. So I think the wins are going to start coming for New England here very soon. And that was about as much of a good loss as you could possibly have for the Patriots. Then the Denver Broncos staying put at 17. This was why we didn't put them too high. They had beaten the Jets, the Giants, and the Jaguars. So it does matter who you play, and they went against a real team this week, and they didn't win. Now, Teddy Bridgewater went down, I think, in the first half of this game, and it's tough to know what could have happened in the second half because Teddy Bridgewater has provided a lot for that offense. This is why Drew Lock was not the choice. So continuing to look right for going with Teddy Bridgewater there. But yeah, there's only so much you can do. Eventually, Lamar Jackson is going to make some plays, and that's what happened. So a rough loss. Sucks that Teddy went out with a concussion, but hopefully he gets back, and we can continue to kind of see how legit the Broncos are. Just a bad week for the Broncos, but I'm not panicking. I'm going to leave them where they were last week. Then the New Orleans Saints also going to stay put. Like I said, they played about 56 minutes 54 minutes of really good football against the Giants. Taysom Hill was unbelievable in this game as a runner. Did throw a pick. He comes in there and just launches a bomb, gets picked off. But yeah, the Saints are who they are. They are going to kind of nitpick you offensively. They're going to steal yardage where they can from guys like Jawan Johnson. They're going to get Alvin Kamara going. They're going to bring in Taysom Hill. Jameis is going to do what he can. Weird offense, really good defense, but they fell apart. They lost the coin toss. They lose the game. I don't think there's too much to take away from that. I think the Saints at 16 actually makes a ton of sense, and they're kind of week to week. I think they're a very matchup-dependent team. Then we have a tier gap up to much more serious playoff contenders, in my opinion, starting with the Minnesota Vikings, who offensively, after looking great against Seattle the week before, people saying Kirk Cousins, MVP candidate. Well, Kirk played last week. Apparently his cousin played this week because he was timid in the pocket and just not playing good football at all. Now, granted, the offensive line couldn't do anything for him. That's why we're worried about the Vikings. You go against Myles Garrett and these guys, there's not a ton that Kirk can do. Justin Jefferson was incredible in this game. It's not that Kirk didn't make any throws, so I'm not panicking. The offense will be back and be just fine. But a bad week for the Vikings. We've seen this from the Vikings. They're kind of a streaky offense and a very matchup-dependent offense. You go against Seattle last week, they have no pass rush. They look great. You go against the Browns, they can't do crap. Defensively, the Vikings are playing pretty well right now. Then we have the Titans, going to drop down a spot, and they got to get Julio and A.J. Brown back healthy. We'll see. This offense just isn't the same without them. They're very one-dimensional. They basically just beat Derrick Henry into the dirt and hoped that they could pull out, and they didn't. I am worried about this defense. It's supposed to be much improved, and Zach Wilson comes in and has a really good game. So, Titans are not a bad football team, but they're also just not a very exciting football team either. Then we got the San Francisco 49ers. Tough loss this week. Defense definitely starting to show some problems. Just a real lack of talent in the secondary right now, which is definitely a problem for the Niners. But offensively, you get Trey Lance in there this week. We'll see what kind of decision they make there. I think Lance played pretty well. Debo is just unbelievable right now. He's been probably the best receiver in football for the last. Well, Tyreek Hill does exist, but he's been incredible for the last 2 weeks. Just run after catch, making crazy plays. So at least there's that for the Niners. But outside of Debo Samuel right now, it's not a ton to get excited about. Then the Raiders +2. They play tonight. They're going to move up because I think Tennessee and San Francisco were more disappointing. Could go either way for the Raiders tonight, I feel like. They've looked outstanding so far. It's a huge game against a really good Chargers team. So again, come back tomorrow for the podcast. We'll be reflecting upon the Monday Night Football game and changing the rankings if necessary. Then the Seattle Seahawks are going to stay put. I didn't move them too far after losing to the Vikings. I think I saw a power ranking that had them like 26th. That's ridiculous. They have Russell Wilson. They have DK Metcalf. They have Tyler Lockett. They have a new scheme in place that's really worked for this team. So they're a good football team. They're going to have a really explosive offense most weeks. The defense is still very much lacking talent, and I think that's what leads to people ranking them in the 20s. But at the end of the day, the Seahawks are right up there and right in the playoff mix. And Russ gives them a chance to win any game. But then we are going to have a tier gap up here into our top 10 teams, which also happen to be, to me, teams that I can actually picture winning a Super Bowl right now. And the Chargers are in that tier because of the roster talent that they have. Now, I want to see them come out tonight and play a complete 60-minute game. Don't shoot yourself in the foot with pre-snap penalties and all. There's been some nonsense for the Chargers on top of a lot of really good stuff going on, both defense and offensively. So a huge game tonight for the Chargers and the Raiders that we will discuss tomorrow. They are moving down a spot, though, because the Dallas Cowboys have been phenomenal. There's been some really, surprising fun stories this year. The Cowboys, the Raiders, the Cardinals that we're going to talk about. The Cowboys are right there with those narratives. We didn't know how this defense was going to look. Mike McCarthy, kind of a laughing stock. The offense, were they going to be able to put it all together? And pretty much they can do no wrong through the first 4 weeks. Dan Quinn crushing it with this defense. Trayvon Diggs has been the best corner in football for the first month. Was he at 4 picks already? And they're all like good, hard-earned interceptions. Man, that's been a huge surprise. And then offensively, of course, like Dak's been incredible. The offensive line's been awesome. These receivers are just dope. But on top of all of that, the play calling has been super exciting. They're like doing fun stuff in the run game. They ran like a triple option out of like a power I or like a wing T type deal. They're doing some really fun stuff. Tony Pollard, Zeke, you name it. This team is really hard to stop, and they aren't slowing down. Like, I think there's a lot of, like, everyone ahead of them played really well this week for the most part, so there's not a lot of opportunity really for them, in my opinion, to jump above some of these other teams, but they're right there with a lot of these guys. Then the Baltimore Ravens, playing incredible football right now. Like, I don't think they're getting enough credit because they're kind of old news at this point, but they don't get enough credit for persevering right now. They've really persevered through the Marcus Peters injury with that defense that's still playing really good football. And then offensively, Lamar Jackson is an MVP candidate this year. Almost like, when he won it in 2019, I thought he deserved it, but like that team around him was so incredible. This year, it's like he's doing what I typically consider MVP stuff. Like, he is making plays that aren't supposed to be there. As weird as that sounds, like, I think if you took Lamar off of this Ravens team, they're much worse than the 2019 team. So Lamar's playing outstanding. Marquise Brown gets going again this week. He is so explosive when he can catch the football. So a lot of credit for the Baltimore Ravens, kind of like outlasting a team like the Cowboys, who are really hyped up right now. But the Ravens have been, in my opinion, even better and more impressive. But then we're going to have a tier gap up here to the Cleveland Browns at number 7, who are going to drop down a spot. And man, this top group is so hard, because I don't think the Browns deserved to go down, but everybody here is playing really good football. So it's just really tough. The reason they are dropping down, even though the defense looks so good, Baker is not playing very good football right now. He's not been accurate. He has just not had a lot of explosiveness. So that's why they're dropping. It's very nitpicky, but honestly, with how good these top teams are playing right now, you gotta get nitpicky, and that's a real situation going on right now. But then we got Buffalo at number 6. They cleaned up the Houston Texans this week. They did what they should have. Another team that doesn't deserve to go down here, but there's another team that was just stunning this week. So I know that -1 seems stupid when you blow out an NFL team, but it was the Houston Texans. But yeah, the Bills are really freaking good. The offense is rolling. The defense is coming along as well. Then we have the Packers also dropping down a spot despite looking good again this week. I would just say the injuries for Green Bay are really stacking up. Zadarius Smith on IR, Jair Alexander gets taken out in this game. Still no David Bakhtiari, Elton Jenkins. Like, these are premium football players not out there for Green Bay, but Aaron Rodgers playing really good football. The defense the last 2 weeks is waking up, even if it's been against lesser competition. So yeah, Green Bay's going to drop down a spot, really just injury related here, and because the Cardinals, spoiler alert, incredible win this week. But then at number 4, we have the LA Rams, who last week I didn't put number 1, but said they definitely deserve the number 1 spot if you want to put them there. But then they came out and honestly just got slaughtered against the Cardinals. That's what happened. The line of scrimmage was lost on both sides of the ball for the Rams, and that's it is what it is. It happens sometimes. Super difficult to separate these guys. They just beat the Bucs last week, so it's like you lose big this week, you lost big last week. What do you do with that? It's tough, but I think you do have to put the Cardinals ahead of them here at number 3, moving up 4 spots. What a win, and to do it in such physical fashion, because that's been the question of the Cardinals is, of course, they have all of this finessey talent. Kyler can run around and make plays. You got speed and DeAndre Hopkins on offense. But can they win the line of scrimmage? Can they be a full-rounded football team? Can they play good defense? And they've done that all season long. They're just punching people in the face. The offensive line is good. They're getting really creative in the run game, getting like Chase Edmonds going, James Conner, of course, what Kyler does. And then you sprinkle Kyler Murray on top of all that. And sprinkle isn't the right word. You drop Kyler Murray on top of that because he is the MVP of the NFL right now. That was an incredible game. When I saw, because I had to go back and watch this game, I really missed it in the afternoon window. When I saw, what they were doing with the run game, I figured, okay, Kyler didn't really do much. No, Kyler was an added layer to this thing. He made incredible plays on third down. His ability to just turn the corner and outrun defenders that quarterbacks aren't supposed to be able to outrun. Of course, Lamar Jackson can do it, but it's unparalleled other than Lamar Jackson. So it's unbelievable what's going on with the Cardinals right now. Both sides of the ball, super well coached, talent out the bum. Super exciting times for the Arizona Cardinals. The Super Bowl expectations, I think, have officially arrived for the Cardinals. The Bucs are going to drop down a spot. Injuries in the secondary, man. We said it in the deep dive. That's one thing that could derail this team, and it's hitting them. Richard Sherman, good signing. Throw a dart at him, but he looked really bad for the Niners last year, and he came out there for the Patriots, and he came out there against the Patriots, and they just went right at him, and they just picked on Sherman. He was not good. So it doesn't look like this secondary is going to be good anytime soon. That does stink. Injuries happen, but this offense is still dominant. They pull it out in the rain against a great defense. Still a big, good win for them. But I do think Kansas City is a better, more explosive football team than them at the moment. Now, you're obviously worried about Kansas City's defense, but with the way Mahomes is playing right now with Tyreek Hill, I'm going to put the Kansas City Chiefs number one. I think if they played any of these guys, I would say they're favored to win. But, man, the gap between 1 and 7 right now is about as tight as I can remember since I've been making these videos. So there's going to be disagreement in the top 7, and that's totally fine. I think you could probably hit the random button on this, and I wouldn't be super against any ranking that it spit out. It's that tight. I think you can make a case anyway. This is just the way my final order came out for it. So there you go. There are the Week 5 NFL Power Rankings. Do make sure you guys come back for the podcast tomorrow. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you enjoyed. And then one last little thing. I'm going to be streaming tonight during the Monday Night Football game, just kind of a little watch along. That's twitch.tv/ThatFranchiseGuy. I'm just going to be doing a fantasy draft on Madden while we do a watch along. I can't show the footage on Twitch for copyright reasons, but just a little hangout sesh. Would love to see you guys there. And that's it. Peace out. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you tomorrow.